Oh yeah, I forgot this guy makes anime reviews. He hasn't done one in a while. Hey guys, the Black Critic Guy, and like I mentioned earlier, it's been a while since I've done an anime reviews. I've been so busy with Nightcast and the partnership that I haven't really had enough time to really sit down and watch a good anime, and I still haven't found any time to sit down and watch a good anime because the anime that I'm reviewing is Fractale, and I gotta say, this is the most polarizing anime I've ever watched. And the reason I say it's polarizing is because I don't really know how I feel about this anime. I mean, there were moments of greatness, but they all were far too scattered apart, and they all were too short to really make you care or get invested in the story, while the rest of the anime was just dull and forgettable. So the story of Fractale takes place in a futuristic world where people are controlled and maintained by a system known as Fractale. And we follow this boy by the name of Klein, who's an average boy living an average life, and he witnesses this girl being chased by these people who I like to refer to as the second-rate Fire Nation copycats because their ship looks exactly like the fucking Fire Nation blimps. And being the good person that he is, he helps her recover after sustaining an injury, and they get to bond and all that stuff. He hands him an orb, and then she leaves. And so he has to maintain that orb because there's some important information in that orb, and from there, his adventure begins. So I was recommended to watch this anime by one of my subscribers, Bri6561, and like I said, I feel very polarized by this anime, but as I think of it now, I think I'm leaning towards the I don't like this anime because I'm thinking about how it ended, and it made me realize none of this needed to happen, and I will explain later. But let's talk about some of the good. But the problem about talking some of the good is that the good blends in with the bad because nothing really substantially good happens in this anime. It's like bits and pieces of goodness. But the really good part of this anime is that most of the characters are really fun to watch, and some of them get really great character development. My favorite characters in this anime are without a doubt these three stooges. I mean, right off the bat, these guys were solid, they were hilarious, and they were fun to watch. And to a degree, I did like the main character of Klein. I mean, he's just an average boy who got pulled into the situation that he didn't really want to be a part of. And you really see him kind of grow as a character. There are moments where he really goes through a development. He witnesses death for the first time, which really puts him in a distraught state. And he's really learning more and more about the struggle that these people are going through. So in a sense, he grows as a character, but not as much as I wanted him to, and I'll get to that later. Probably the most developed character in this entire anime is Fuin. She's basically a part of this religious cult that controls Fractale, and she's referred to as the key that will change the world. Basically, Fractale needs to reboot, and she's the key that will help it reboot and get it back up to date. But the thing is, she doesn't want to be the key of the world. She doesn't want to live a predestined life. She wants to make a life of her own, a life that she has molded herself. And you see her grow in this development as a character, and you get to see her actually go out of her way to get what she wants and not what someone else told her she should have. And I love seeing that about this character, and she was probably the most interesting character in this anime. And then you got Nessa, the fun-loving, eccentric doppel who brings a bit of lightheartedness into this anime and really lightens up the mood when there's like a dull situation or things aren't really happening. She comes in and makes it a bit more exciting to watch, and I really liked her character. She was always fun, always entertaining. And I really dug the relationship between Klein, Fuin, and Nessa. Try saying that 3 times. You see them grow a stronger bond as the series progresses, and you really get the feeling that they care deeply for each other. Now here's where it gets a bit tricky. The next series of things that I'm about to mention were good in some parts of the anime, but in other parts of the anime it wasn't. Take the animation for example. In some parts the animation was excellent, superb, but that was only 1/5 of the anime. The other 4/5, the anime was just dull, unengaging, and uninspired. They didn't really try anything spectacular or even eye-catching, which is a problem because if you really want to pull an audience in, you gotta make your animation stand out. You gotta make it something special, and it just came off as it was good in some parts, but the rest was just dull. Next is the story. In some parts, the story was really interesting, really captivating, really compelling. They live in a world that is controlled and maintained by a system called Fractale, which is basically like the matrix of their world. It's a virtual world where you can live out your desires and your wants and your needs. And there are people that live in it, and there are people that don't live in it anymore. And the people that don't live in it anymore, they go through withdrawal. They become so dependent on the Fractale system that they can't live without it, and they crave to go back. But just like in the Matrix, once you're unplugged from the Matrix, you can't go back in there forever anymore. are basically out. But the thing is, a few episodes later, you totally forget about the Fractale system and how it really alters human beings. And for me, I felt like that was just a missed opportunity. They could have played off the fact that the Fractale system was very detrimental for the progression of the human race. But no, they kind of just pushed it to the wayside and made it like a subplot that's kind of there. And lastly, characters, some of which were really well developed while others were just underdeveloped and you really didn't care about them. Especially Klein, I never really felt like he changed as a character. He's the same person in the beginning as he is in the end. The only thing that really changes about Klein is that he grows a stronger bond with Fween and Nessa, and he's experienced death. That's about it for his development. And there were other characters in the anime that I felt like they could have developed a little more. I really would like to know their backstories or see a growth in their character, but no, they pushed to the wayside. And now we get to the other side of the spectrum and we talk about the rest of the things that I didn't like about this anime. One of the biggest problems of this anime is that there's no weight to the situation. And what I mean by there's no weight to the situation, I didn't give a damn about their cause. I didn't care what happened to any of them. And none of the situations felt dire. I didn't feel like they were fighting for their lives. I didn't feel like they were in any type of danger. It just felt like, oh, they're just going through the motions and this is happening and that's happening. You just don't care. You're not invested in their cause. You're not invested in what they're doing, and you just come off as, it's whatever. I wanted to be pulled into their fight. I wanted to care about what was going to happen to them. I wanted them to succeed. In this one, they don't develop them enough for me to even care what they do. There's no closure. There's no ceremony. The only character that ever had a ceremony for him died early on in the series, and then that's the last we ever see of a ceremony for someone who died. So I'm guessing that guy was really important, but the rest of the people weren't? Come on. If you're gonna give one guy a funeral ceremony, you might as well give the rest of them a funeral ceremony. But no, the rest of them don't get one. Only he does. What? Another big problem, and this is the first time I've ever noticed this in an anime, but the person who did the musical score did a terrible job. The score does not match the tone of the scene. Like, there's a scene where these two characters are having a serious conversation, and instead of playing a serious, mellow type of song, they play this adventure theme, and I'm like, that doesn't fit the tone of the scene, and it took me out of the scene. The music is supposed to complement and support the scene to make the audience really connect and be pulled into the scene. But instead, it just takes you off. It distracts you because you're like, why is there an adventures theme playing while these two are having a serious conversation? It takes you right out of the anime. And going off of my whole polarized feeling of this anime neglects to answer really important questions, like how did the Fractale system come into play? What is this religious cult? Why do they have control of the Fractale system? What is Klein's parents' doppels supposed to be? Where is Klein's parents? All you see is their doppels. What's the point of doppels? I mean, there's just so many unanswered questions, too many to list. And it just left me with a sour feeling once the anime came to the end. And speaking of the end, this has to be one of the worst anime endings I've ever seen. By the end of the series, you come to realize that the entire journey following these characters, really getting invested in these characters and their cause and what they're doing, sitting through 10 episodes all the way to the last episode, you realize that it was all for nothing. By the end of the series, everything that they worked for was for nothing. The thing that they were trying to stop from happening happened. They let it happen too. That's the biggest... I might actually make a separate video explaining why I'm angry about this ending, because that is some bullshit. All of this work, all of this effort, all the people that have died for this cause, they have died in vain. They died for nothing. So overall, this anime infuriates me. All of that time, all that effort, all that work, you sat and watched this anime for 11 episodes to see it end like this, where everything that they worked for is negated? What the fuck? And that's why I'm gonna give this anime, for the first time in a long time, a 1 out of 5 stars. Yes, a 1. It is an unnecessary waste of time. Literally, you sit for 11 episodes only to reach the end and realize none of that really mattered. This whole adventure never mattered. Why did I even waste my time watching this? It's kind of funny how I started this review off not really knowing what I felt about it, but as I thought about it in making this review, the more and more I just hated it and reached my final verdict. But anyway, what did you guys think of this anime? Did you like it a lot, or did you hate it like I did? And let me know, what is your favorite sci-fi anime? Comment below, let me know. Man, I am just so mad at that anime right now, I can't even think straight. But anyway, Hit that subscribe button if you're new to my channel. Welcome to the Black Critic Guy. Like this video if you really enjoyed me raging about it. And I'm Tony Wiley II from the Black Critic Guy. Till then, peace YouTube.